Let me start with a heartfelt thank you on behalf of our family, to the Herenstein family, to the whole Yeshiva University community, and to Erica for the friendship and partnership you each gave my father during his lifetime, and for the incredible work you are beginning to take forward his teaching into the future. At these times of huge challenge across the world, we believe that the values he taught and the challenge he set us all are more relevant than ever. So thank you for helping to get these to new audiences. My father loved Pesach. It was the source text of so much of what he taught, and arguably the most vivid, tangible example of Judaism's ability to take ancient narratives and ideas and imperatives and make them new again in each generation. So he really came alive at Seder. Our Sederim varied greatly from small family meals where he was more Saba than Rabbi, to large communal Sederim where he had the tough job of trying to engage 100 families, each with their own tunes and own traditions, and make them each feel part of a single family Seder. And each time, I think what he brought to life best was the extraordinary fact that wherever we were, whoever we were continuing the oldest continuously observed religious ritual in the world, a fact which carries enormous implications for our understanding of what Seder, what Pesach is really there to do. For why, even before the people had even left Egypt, they were already engaging in rituals whose sole purpose was to ensure that the lessons of Pesach, of freedom, would carry into the future. And of course, that's true today, perhaps more than for many, many years. Rarely has it been more important to reflect on the value of freedom and why it can never be taken for granted. So what did my father teach us about freedom? Well, let me just share just two of the many lessons I take with me from his teachings. Firstly, freedom is a muscle. Use it or lose it. In his commentaries to Parashat Va'era, in seeking to explain how God could have hardened Pharaoh's heart and yet Pharaoh still have free will, he writes about the human brain. Patterns of behaviour are shaped by neural pathways, connecting different parts of the brain. So say we do something that's bad for us, we turn to a negative behaviour. The more often we do it, the stronger that neural pathway in our brain gets, and so the more instinctive that behaviour becomes. The more often we behave in certain ways, the harder it is to break the habit and create a new and different pathway in our brain. To do that, we need to acquire new habits instead and act on those consistently too. What is true neuroscientifically is true socially, politically, psychologically. Almost all of our mental and social structures tend to reinforce previous patterns of behaviour, so our freedom diminishes every time we fail to exercise it. It's easier to do what we did last time, what everyone around is doing, and harder to act with genuine free will. By conforming to others and our own habits, we can lose our freedom gradually, without even noticing. This is a critical lesson. Freedom is not a given. We have to work for it. And we work at it by creating new behaviours, new neural pathways. Every time we stop, don't simply think or act as those around us do, but instead ask, is this what is right? We exercise our brain, make it more adaptable. Every time we don't act on impulse or instinct, but assert our willpower, we act with freedom, and it'll get easier to do so next time. Freedom, he writes, is less a gift than an achievement. It has to be worked at. Use it or lose it. And secondly, what is our freedom for? It's too easy to define freedom in the negative, an absence of constraint. But the story of our freedom is not really the exodus from Egypt. Internalizing the memory of oppression is at the heart of our story, but it's not ultimately what our freedom is all about. The question is why we left Egypt. To become a free nation under God, to strive to build a just society. The question we have to ask ourselves, my father taught, is not what are we free from, but what are we free to do, and will we do it? He writes in Morality, to become moral, we have to make a commitment to some moral community and code. We have to make a choice to forego certain choices, to choose the right restraints. Politics may give us freedom from, but morality gives us freedom too. This freedom, which my ancestors fought to preserve, which is tested and secured in each generation, what am I going to do with it? It's a hard question, but maybe one to ask at our Seder tables this year. So how can we act to preserve freedom? Exercise your freedom muscles, don't just act on habit, and work out what you will use your freedom for. I often find myself wondering what my father would say if he was here witnessing events around the world. Thankfully, he left us so much behind to work that out. He would have challenged us, not simply to celebrate Pesach, but to live up to its call. So this Pesach, I hope we all find ways not just to appreciate our freedom, but to use our freedom. There is much we need to do with it, and many who depend upon us doing so. Chag Sameach, and thank you all again.